Welcome back to the 1% Show. If you're new here, tune in to hear me spin the yarns with authors, savants, and eccentric humans every week. I'm your Aussie host, Brandon Nankivell, and it's time to kick back and enjoy the show. Let's go. Do you find it difficult to find time to read? Well, I put together an online course that will teach you how to get twice as much value out of books by reading half as much. It will show you how to strategically select valuable books before you even invest time into reading them. This is something that speed reading courses don't teach you. It will show you whether you should be reading books, ebooks, or audiobooks. It will show you how to conquer your wandering mind, how to apply what you read so you can actually create real results, which is what reading is all about at the end of the day, and how to avoid wasting countless hours due to poor reading habits. It's a lifetime investment that will help you to extract more value from every single book you read from now on. To get started, head to elitereaderacademy.com. Again, that's elitereaderacademy.com. I'll see you there. So first off, I just want to ask here casually, MJ, is what accent do you have?
What accent do I have? I'm from Chicago.
Chicago.
But that's I left there 20 years ago. So if I still have it, that's news to me.
Okay, so where do you originate from? Because I noticed your last name, it's got like DeMarco, and it's got capitals, and I'm just wondering whether that, means that you come from some specific origin in another foreign country or something like that.
Well, I'm Italian.
Yeah. See, I sensed something different to the 100% pure American. I could sense something else that was in your voice, MJ.
Well, I've never been to Italy. I mean, it's my heritage is from Italy. So.
Okay. Interesting. Yeah, it does seem to have the Italian spice. Now that you mention it, I guess. So, awesome. All right. Let's launch into it. So just briefly, MJ, I'll give you a little introduction here. You get a chance to speak for yourself shortly. But to my listeners listening in, MJ is the author of The Millionaire Fastlane and more recently, Unscripted, Life, Liberty, and the Pursuit of Entrepreneurship. So what attracted me to MJ and to ultimately bring him on this podcast is his, no BS approach to generating wealth. So, MJ, in your book, The Millionaire Fastlane, you put into question a lot of the common advice that rich people give us. So, you specifically mention Robert Kiyosaki and some of his practices, and you also mention like the richest man in Babylon and how putting away 10% of your money or whatever isn't necessarily a good idea, and things of that nature. So that's what really attracted me to you and your work, MJ. So I'm extremely happy to have you here. So here's your official welcome to the show.
Hey, well, thank you for having me. I do appreciate it.
Fantastic. So right now, MJ, what does your typical day look like?
Well, for the last couple of years, I've been writing every day to finish my final book, Unscripted, at least in the realm of entrepreneurship. But right now, I own a entrepreneur forum, one of the web's most trafficked web entrepreneur forums for discussions on startup, internet marketing, anything self-improvement, motivation. I basically pop into there every single day and I contribute and I help people find their way through this, what we call a career of entrepreneurship. As far as my day goes, I get up when I want to get up. That to me, if someone asks me what is the most greatest thing you love about being an entrepreneur, is I love being able to get up when I want to get up. And sometimes that could be late in the morning. Sometimes it could be 5 a.m. I get to work when I want, do whatever I want. And I just absolutely love that power. And that is something that, cannot be quantified as far as a benefit goes for being an entrepreneur. But, basically I do what I pursue. I do what I want to do without having the math, the what's the word I'm looking for here? The validation of money, because I retired basically about 35 years early. So I go to the store, prices are no consequence. You just buy what you want. So it's a very liberating freedom, a liberating feeling to have that. And I owe that all to the power of entrepreneurship.
Interesting. And that feeling of being able to wake up and just to wake up whenever you want to many people, for most of the world, that is such a far off concept. Like they can't even get it through their heads that's actually possible. And it seems that your writing in the Millionaire Fastlane starts to, enable people to start thinking in a different way, in such that they can realize that, hey, I can actually fucking quit my 9 to 5 and, build a business that then eventually, allows me to wake up whenever the fuck I want. So, man, I've got a whole line of questions here for you. I mean, that must be an incredible feeling that a lot of people are striving for. So,
well, here's the thing, and since you're bringing that up,
yep.
When you say the word retirement, people automatically think, it's, you're old, you're 65, 70, whatever it is. But you can retire at any age, so as long as your expenses are lower than your income. And it's a pretty simple concept. If you have an income that exceeds your expenses, and that comes in regularly through your investments or whatever else you got going, assuming it's passive, you're retired. And retirement is not, you're on the golf course every morning, teeing off. It's for me, it's doing whatever I want to do and not having to worry about money. I actually can follow my passion and do what I love and not worry that the market wants all that. And that's a very important distinction, because you have to, if you're doing what you love and you're following your passion, it has to merge with a market need. Otherwise, it's a dead end. And I think that's a very important distinction.
Okay, yeah, sure. Thanks for that clarification. Now, I just want to mention here, I was speaking to Dan Locke, who is he's a millionaire from Vancouver, and he made so many millions that basically he could do whatever the fuck he wanted whenever he wanted. So he made a lot of money, and then, yeah, for, 3 or 4 weeks, 3 or 4 months, whatever it was, don't quote me on that, he basically, did the whole, all right, I'm just going to go and party, I'm going to hire cars and take my friends with me, because why the fuck not? And he did all that stuff, but at the end of it, he found that despite having all this money and all this freedom, he felt unfulfilled. So eventually he found some meaning in teaching other entrepreneurs to build their businesses and take things from 6 figures to 7, 8, 9 figures, etc. So for you, MJ, now that you've got all this money, was there a point where you made all this money and then you didn't know what to do, and so you had to then find meaning in something else?
Well, absolutely. Meaning and purpose is one of the drivers of life. I don't know if you've ever heard those stories where people work their entire lives and they retire at 70, and after they retire, they're dead in a year or two. It's because their job gave them meaning and purpose. So there's always a meaning and purpose in my life. These books that I've written, The Millionaire Fastlane and Unscripted, are a part of my meaning and purpose in showing people that there is another way out there that is not as oppressive, where you have to trade 5 days of your life for 2 in order to get your weekend. There's another way out there. And that is behind my purpose. That is my meaning. And that is very important, because without that, just like you just explained, it's very easy just to be like, oh, well, what else is there? This is, I have all this money and I've partied and I've traveled and, there's nothing. Yeah, that's someone that has no meaning or purpose. And that's why, he probably dived into another pursuit that gives him that power, because it's a very motivational thing that everyone needs to have it. Otherwise, life starts getting mundane. It gets trivial. it gets into a rut, and that's pretty much how a 9-to-5 job that you really doesn't inspire you. That's the objective there, is to grind you into mediocrity, which is what we do not want.
Sure. Now, is it still possible for someone to find meaning in their 9-to-5 job?
Absolutely. I've been quoted as saying, as entrepreneurship is not for everyone. There's many jobs out there that have meaning and purpose, and I'm not here to dissuade that. You can be a fireman, you can be a doctor, you can, be a programmer that has a very, connected outcome related to the company. Yeah, I'm not here to say that you can't, but meaning and purpose is a general concept for life, and not just with entrepreneurship.
Sure. I like that stance because, I mean, just what I've seen, MJ, I feel like you're the right person to talk to about this with your no BS approach to things. And that is, there's a lot of entrepreneurs who are really like 100% against the whole 9-to-5 thing because, you don't have any control and all that, and you're being controlled by a system, et cetera, et cetera. But, the foundations of an entrepreneur are like, at the moment, 9-to-5ers. Sure, we're getting into automation and machines, but doesn't every entrepreneur need 9-to-5ers under his wing?
I'm not sure. What do you mean? They have to have 9-to-5 under their wing?
Okay, so I'm an entrepreneur and I run a business, and let's say I have 200 employees. I need those 200 employees to help run my business and for me to be successful as an entrepreneur. So what I'm trying to say is, MJ, is for those entrepreneurs who say, 9-to-5s are bad and they're completely against it, isn't that kind of, wrong and illogical to say no one should continue their 9-to-5 job?
Absolutely. Now, I am not one of these people that think entrepreneurship is for everyone. The world needs employees, and there are many people who are very happy being an employee. I'm not here to change their mind. I'm speaking to those individuals who sense that something's wrong with the world. This isn't right. I don't like this. This trade where I'm trading 5 for 2 to get a weekend, and that's a negative return, by the way. When you trade 5 days a week for a weekend, you're not getting those 5 days back. So it's not an interest payment. It's an immediate loss of principal. So those are the individuals that I'm speaking to.
Yeah.
I'm not trying to convince someone who's a lifelong employee that, and they're happy doing that there's, I'm not here to judge someone's happiness. So.
Yeah, sure. And this is why I love your stance so much, MJ. I think it's absolutely brilliant. Anyway, next question, MJ. So why is it that you seem to be pretty much the only guy that I've found who's achieved massive success that, you're one of the very few people that puts real, raw, authentic advice on the table. And then we've got, all these other guys that are selling their, I don't know, little courses that amount to nothing. Like, the type of people I mean who say, invest in this program, invest in this seminar, and you're going to get rich. Why is it that you've like been the guy that's really took off in terms of giving raw, authentic advice? Why aren't I'm just wondering why it's you.
Well, first of all, I think it's a racket out there. I actually don't like this industry because there's so many scammers. There's so many hucksters that are selling shit that don't work. Or my favorite is the 19-year-old life coach.
Classic, MJ. Classic.
You're 19 years old. How are you a life coach? You haven't endured any life.
Yeah.
So it's like the old envelope stuffing scam. Well, if you send me $1, I'll tell you how to get rich. And then you send the $1 and they say, tell other people to send you $1 and you can tell them how to get rich. It's like, here's a make money seminar. It's $1,000 seminar. Make money. I'll tell you how to make money. You get into the room. The guy says, well, have a seminar, charge $1,000. That's how you make money. Thank you for coming. So it's like this circle jerk, and it's it's kind of disheartening that in my eye, I'm trying to be authentic and telling people how it is, and it's brash. It's not very, it's more logical. It's not emotional. It's like hard truth. It's tough love. People don't want to hear it, but unfortunately, that kind of stuff also doesn't sell very well. So that's the kind of position I'm in. Everyone's looking for the shortcut. Well, there is no fucking shortcut. You're having problems finding success because, not you, I'm just saying to the person out there that is struggling, because you're on an everlasting search for a shortcut that does not exist. If you just do the fucking work, you will succeed. Quit looking for the diet pills, quit looking for the girdles, quit looking for this. Do the fucking work. Go to the gym 4 or 5 times a day. Eat right. 20 out of 21 meals every week, or whatever, how many there are. If you do the necessary work, it's easy. The difficulty is that you're not finding the shortcut. So you keep looking, you keep trying, you do this, you do that, you do that. Stop with the fucking shortcuts and do the necessary work. Commit, be disciplined, and do it.
Sure thing. Okay. And so my question is, does reading books count as work?
I believe that it's definitely it's good to be reading books.
Okay.
But what happens is a lot of entrepreneurs are doing what I call action faking, entrepreneurial masturbation. They think they're doing work because they're reading books. And in the end, they're not doing nothing. They're not acting. Laying in your bed and reading a book, and if you strip it down, is not work. It's not taking action. I like to say, I'm always asked on podcasts, what's your, what book should entrepreneurs read?
Yeah.
And I say the best book an entrepreneur should read is the book that solves the problem that is sitting in front of them right now. So if you're starting a business and you're having problems creating a brand, well, you should read a damn branding book. If you're trying to grow your business and you're not sure how to hire and deal with employees, well, you should buy a book on employees and managing employees. If you need to develop a web app and you have this great idea and the tools are out there to learn how to program a web app, that's the book or the YouTube podcast you should be looking at. So there is never all the answers. When you want to start a business and you want to become an entrepreneur, if you're sitting around saying, well, I need all the answers first, you will never be an entrepreneur. You have to act, immediately act. And what happens is you're going to encounter problems along the way, every single day, every week. And that's when you have to search out these solutions. So you're basically becoming this huge, long time problem solver. So the books you want to be reading, or the podcasts you want to be listening to, or the YouTube videos you're watching, you want those to solve the problems that sit before you. I call this kinetic execution. It's in my next book, Unscripted. And that is starting before you're ready. That is acting and letting the problems fall before you and then solving each step of the way. So after you have solved, 60, 70 problems, you actually have a solution that you can sell to the world or a product or whatever it is. As opposed to sitting around and waiting for all the right answers. I have to read this book. I have to do this. I have to do this. And then in effect, you never do anything because it is so overwhelming. If you look at all the things, if I had to look back at what I had to accomplish in order to get where I was, if I looked at all that in aggregate, looking at the mountaintop, I would have never have gotten started because it was so overwhelming. But I just took one step at a time. So that's how you want to do that. Kinetic execution is one step at a time, one problem at a time.
Sure. So speaking of execution, working hard, putting in the hard yards, I'm wondering, there's Gary Vaynerchuk on one end. He's a very prominent figure in the entrepreneurial scene right now, as I'm sure you're aware. And he's telling us all to fucking work hard, put in the hustle, put in the hours. And then on the other end of the spectrum, we've got people like Tai Lopez who are telling us, he emphasizes work smart. And he even made a video that indirectly addressed Gary Vaynerchuk's preaching of working hard. But Tai goes, well, no, actually, maybe it's more important to work smart, and he constantly says that. So do you think there's one thing that's more important than the other, or are they both equal?
They're both equal. You have to work hard and work smart, because the guy that's working smart but not working hard is going to be defeated by the guy who is working hard and smart. So what I'm not familiar. I don't watch Thai videos and I don't watch Gary videos.
Okay.
But as far as I know, doesn't Gary have a huge company? So
Yeah.
I'm liking to listen to him, because he's out there acting. He has a company. He's doing work, and then he has this other the guru persona part of him. But you have to do both, because the guy that's doing both is going to defeat the guy who wants, the passive income, who's going to be sitting around all day and, I'm working smart by working only 2 hours today. Well, the other guy's working 12 hours that day, and, creating something much better. So you have to do both.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Simple as that. Awesome. Next question here is, in your book, you say something like, the follow your passion advice is flawed. So I'm just wondering, how about the billionaire George Lucas? He says to follow your passion, and yet he's a billionaire. So he's dishing out that advice that you disagree with in the book. So do you think it's just a coincidence that his passion fed the market what it wanted?
Well, if you have passion and you're good at what you do and there's a market need for it, yes, you can do that. But the fact of the matter is 99.9% of us do not have that merging. And, sure, some billionaires have been quoted as saying that. There's also a couple billionaires who said, don't follow that advice. It's destructive advice. Mark Andreessen said it's destructive. Mark Cuban said it's destructive. So what happens is these people say this, and I think it's just because it's a nice soundbite. Everyone can be passionate. And what happens is these people are succeeding. So success inspires passion. So George Lucas has had an incredible amount of success. And I'm sure he was passionate about movie making. Of course he was. But the success is what keeps you passionate. If no one watched his movies and he was, living in a closet and couldn't afford to pay rent and couldn't afford meals because no one liked his movies or his productions or anything, his passion would dwindle. His passion would disappear, because winning inspires passion. Passion does not necessarily inspire winning. That's a very important distinction. A good example I always give is, how many blogs are out there that have just millions and millions of blogs that have one or two posts on them? Well, isn't it safe to say that all those people that started that blog were passionate? Of course they were. You don't start a blog unless you're passionate about whatever you're talking about. And yet all of them quit. 99% of them quit. That's because passion does not inspire winning all the time. Winning inspires passion. Now, if one of those blog people wrote one article and no one visited, and they said, I'll do it again, and then the next article they wrote suddenly was shared by millions of people, liked by millions of people. The news media contacted them, said, oh my God, your blog on XYZ was so good. That kind of winning inspires passion. All of a sudden, that person will be inclined to continue to blog, as opposed to the person who did not get any market echoes, any market feedback, and was met with dead silence. So it's easy to say, follow your passion, when the market is saying to you, man, we love what you do. We love your product. We love your movie. We love your iPhone. We love this. We love that. Of course, you're going to be passionate. And that is why it is so easy for these billionaires just to throw out this soundbite as if it's like the greatest advice ever, when in fact, it sucks, because the market doesn't give a fuck what you're passionate about. It only wants to know, what can you give to me? What are you going to do for me? So I'm suggesting is, when you experience winning, even if it's in a project you're not necessarily, you're in love with, when the market and the audience that you're training to says, we love this, that's winning. That's what inspires passion. I do stuff today, even, the way I am. I still do things that I do not like, I do not love, and I still do them because that's a part of the process. So it's a very important distinction when you hear these mantras that sound good, these emotional, oh, do what you love. I can play video games all day and get paid for it. It's bullshit.
Okay, so to put this in real concrete terms, let's picture a scenario. So let's say we've got this guy called Jimmy. He's 23 years old. Okay, now he loves music and he always has since childhood. Now, there's this classic narrative of the broke musician. He wants to somehow make money off his music, yet there just doesn't seem to be that market for it. Only like 1% of the 99% of people in the world that are passionate about music ever actually make it real big. So what's your advice, MJ, to the broke musician? He wants to pursue his passion for music, but he struggles to see, an opportunity to make money out of it.
Well, first of all, there's something called the over-justification effect, and it's what happens when you do something freely because you enjoy it versus you do something because you get paid for it. So what happens is if you naturally like music and you start getting paid to do music, there's a good chance that you will eventually start to hate music. A good example is I used to love to drive when I was younger. So I went out and did what I love, and I got a job driving a limousine and other jobs that involved driving. Well, after about 3 or 4 years of getting paid to drive, I no longer love driving. In fact, I hate it now. In fact, 40 years have gone, 30 years, whatever it is, I still hate driving. And it's because it ruined it. So if the guy is talented and a talented musician, sure. I mean, we definitely want Michael Jordan to get to the basketball court. We definitely want, these talented individuals to find their way to the market. So his answer lies in the marketplace. How is the market responding to his effort? How is the market responding to his music? If he's getting a positive message back, it's safe to continue. It's safe to pursue that. But it's when the market is constantly echoing back, we're not interested. We're not, you're not that good. And no matter how much you try, how much passion you have to improve, it doesn't change the state of affairs. That's when it's time to move on to something else. I like to approach this as this. What if this guy that loves music creates a business that has autonomy, creates a business that makes him money, and he has enough money where he actually can join a band and play music for fun. And he doesn't have to worry about, oh my God, they're only paying us $100 to do that gig tonight. But he's doing it for joy. He's doing it for the real passion. See, there's a difference there when the passion has to put money on the table, put food on the table, or the passion is you're just doing it because it's passionate. See, that's the way I like to look at it is, I'm passionate about this activity and I can go do it now and not worry about what the market is saying, not worry about getting paid for it because I am passionate about it. And that's what's in my heart.
Sure. Awesome. So just rewinding a little bit back to the limousine example where you said, you got paid for limousine driving or whatever, and because of that, you eventually ended up, hating it. So my question is here to play devil's advocate and get another viewpoint is, how do you actually know it was the fact that you were getting paid for it that led to your hate for it? What if it was just because you'd been doing it for so long that your interest naturally died off? So how do you know whether it's actually being paid for that led to it?
Well, it's the regularity of it all. Of course, if you do it enough, you're eventually going to get sick of it. It's human nature. Another example I have for you is I bought a massage chair. Mm-hmm. And it's one of these, you sit in it and it just massages everything, your calves, your feet, your ankles, your back. It does everything. And when I first sat in it, I was like, oh my God, this is incredible. This is, I have neck problems. So I bought it on the spot. Didn't even look at the price. I'm like, I want this.
Yeah.
Well, I was using it every single day, and I barely use it any longer because it's gotten old. It's gotten the feeling of, that the same mechanized feeling has gotten old. It's lost. I've lost my passion for it because it has been routine and regular. See, if something becomes routine and regular, you endanger your love or your enjoyment of that activity. So that's a problem, and it's anytime you're doing something. In my new book Unscripted, I actually quote a man who was paid to drive exotic cars. He loved exotic cars, Ferraris, Porsches. He got a job on a racetrack driving those cars, Ferraris, Lamborghinis, and he did it for 2 years. And he said by the time he was done with that job, he hated exotic cars. He hated driving. It absolutely sapped his love of that activity and those cars. Now, if that isn't something that tells you that you're putting something in risk, I don't know what is.
Wow. So how about all these guys, like all the startup entrepreneurs? Like I know one, and he's got a picture of a Lamborghini as his desktop wallpaper. Is that a bad incentive to now be realizing that, well, when I get that Lamborghini, maybe I'll get sick of it? So is that bad to have that as your desktop wallpaper, or is it good because it actually drives you in the moment? It motivates you to work.
I think it's good because it drives you. We're very future-oriented species. When I bought my first Lamborghini, it was a very, very exhilarating experience. It was a feeling of accomplishment. So I recommend it to anyone. Obviously, that's not going to give you happiness. But, whatever drives someone, it couldn't, it doesn't even need to be a picture of a Lamborghini. It could be a picture of Bali or Fuji or a beach on Thailand. It doesn't matter. Whatever drives you, because one of the statements I always say is if you're pursuing your dream, you're living the dream. And it's the old saying, it's not the journey or it's not the destination, it's the journey. So as long as you are pursuing your dream, I'd like to do this, I'd like to accomplish that, you're living the dream. And people are miserable today is because their dreams are dead. There is no dream. Their existence is Monday through Friday, pay the bills, repeat, sleep, get up, repeat again, and do it for the next 50 years. Well, there's no dream there, so they're not living. So you become alive once you start pursuing that dream, no matter what it is, no matter if it's a Lamborghini or you want to open a dog shelter or you want to do some charity, it doesn't matter.
Damn right. That's the truth right there. Now, there's, to move on here, there's studies that say making money beyond $70,000 a year doesn't make you any happier. Do you believe this?
Yeah, that's bullshit.
Bullshit?
Yeah, absolute bullshit. I believe there is a threshold. It's certainly not 70,000. It might be a couple million. I don't know what it is.
Yeah.
I know if you gave me $1 million right now, it's not going to change my life.
Yeah.
But it's not 70,000. That's absolutely fucking ridiculous. What happens is these studies, they never take into account how that money is spent. Usually that money is spent on consumer activities, lifestyle elevation, bigger house, faster car, more expensive clothes, more, the newest iPhone because your other one's only 6 months old. You need the newest bullshit like that. Consumerism is why they say money doesn't buy happiness, because people are too wrapped up in consumerism. So it's absolute bullshit to think that, you're going to be happy, you're going to be miserable living in a debt-free house with 5 rooms, a swimming pool, as opposed to living in a trailer with rats running around. You can be miserable in both situations, sure, but you're going to be more miserable in the latter situation. Bottom line is money gives you options. It gives you choices. And there's actually been studies that have verified this, that autonomy, the ability to do what you want, when you want, wherever you want, accounts for as up to 40% of your happiness quotient. Well, autonomy is very linked directly to money. So if you have money, the ability to do whatever you want, whenever, you have covered 40% of that equation. And yet these studies never talk about that because that wouldn't push their narrative that you need to be mediocre your entire life and quit making money and da 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 da. It's all bullshit.
Couldn't someone achieve that same level of autonomy without money by running off into the jungle, forgetting all the social and political systems here and just fucking living like a caveman? Then, because if you do that, then money isn't required. So do you reckon that could deliver the same amount of happiness, living like a caveman where there's no money involved and you just kill animals and eat plants?
I think so. I don't know anyone like that. I think that's a unique kind of person, but I think in that person has also sensed the bullshit. I'm not going to give up 5 days of my life for 2, except they've approached it on the other end. See, there's offense and defense. That person that runs into the jungle and says, I'm going to scrimp and save and I'm going to kill my own meals and they're a defensive player, meaning they're going to kill all their expenses and all their consumption in order to live the absolute most frugal lifestyle they can. So they're living in a tent in the jungle.
Yeah.
And yes, they've reclaimed their time because they've attacked a defensive structure. The fast lane is based on an offensive structure with some defense. An offense is a massive income or a massive asset value that you create in a very relatively short period of time. So you can also live like that person in the jungle, except you can do it in a nicer house with a nicer car and eat out whenever you want to eat out. Excuse me. So there's 2 different approaches, and you'll find gurus who focus on one side or the other. Most of the financial gurus are focused on defensive strategy, which is living poorly. You're going to be happy living frugally. You're going to be happy clipping coupons. You're going to be happy declining yourself Starbucks every day. Well, fuck you. I want my coffee and I want it every damn day. You're not going to get rich because you stop drinking coffee. It's the most absurd fucking thing I've ever heard. So that's a defensive strategy. And there are people that want to do that, and that's fine. I'm not here to, that's what's going to make them happy. That's what's going to make them happy. Again, my message is for the person that does not want to live like that. They're not going to force themselves to be happy living poorly. That's not my message, is not for them.
Sure thing. Now let's, you do discuss this in your book, Affirmations. Let's put this on the table here in the podcast. Okay, so let's take me as a classic example. I've been doing these written affirmations for maybe a year and a half now where, as the self-development literature goes and the success literature, it says, write down your affirmations, write down that you are a millionaire and eventually it will come into fruition. But, I've sort of come to a point personally, like a lot of other people around me have, is, affirmations start to feel fucking pointless. Like where did this affirmation stuff come from? Because right now it just feels like a complete waste of time. What's your view on this?
Well, I don't think it's a waste of time. Ultimately, affirmations have to respond with action. And if you can sit in your bed and do affirmations all you want, and if you don't get up out of bed and start doing the hard work, remember, there's no shortcut. Do the fucking work, and eventually those affirmations come true. Now, but here's where affirmations are important. I think it's very important that we need to identify as what we want to be. So if you're an entrepreneur or you're an aspiring entrepreneur, you need to identify yourself as an entrepreneur. You need to say, I'm an entrepreneur. And if your current status quo does not equivalate, is not congruent with that identity as an entrepreneur, your body or in your actions will start to reflect that to make it congruent. You understand? You don't want this incongruency. So you're going to work to match that congruency against the status quo. A good example is if you identify yourself as, I'm an aspiring entrepreneur who is an engineer at Boeing. Well, that identity identifies with the status quo. So you're not going to change because your identity is congruent. You are what you are. You're an aspiring entrepreneur. And no matter if you work tomorrow or do anything, you're an aspiring, it matches. So you want to identify as something that is different than the status quo. So if you're saying, I've identified as an entrepreneur all my life since I was 15, 16 years old, but I actually my identity didn't actually catch up to that until I was in my mid-20s. And that helped me because I was always working to match that identity. You know, I had bad jobs. I was doing pizza delivery, I was doing all kinds of crazy shit. But back in my head, even though I had jobs, I knew I identified as an entrepreneur. So whatever you want to be, you have to identify that, and it has to be against the status quo. So you're continually in a state of effort toward that new identity, toward that identity where you want to be. So that's how affirmations are important.
Okay, sure. Thank you for that answer. That clears some things up. So next here, we've got a scenario. So going back to our example with this guy called Jimmy, and he's 23 years old, okay? So let's just say Jimmy has graduated from university, but he still doesn't know what he wants to do with his life. Now, he gets $5,000 deposited into his bank account. What your opinion, MJ, what should he do with that money if he wants to become financially successful and be a millionaire?
I would do nothing with it. I wouldn't spend it. I would keep it there as an option on opportunity. At the best investment in the world. There's two of the best investments in the world, and they're not offered by Wall Street. They're not offered by the government. They're not offered by anyone. It is yourself and your business. You don't create wealth fast by giving your money to Wall Street or the government. You make money fast by creating assets in your business with a massive income explosion or a massive asset value explosion. Wealth, people get rich quick all the time. And it's always because of business endeavors, entrepreneurial endeavors. So the best investment for that $5,000 is not to spend it on stupid shoes or a stereo system. It is to let it sit there and become an option on opportunity when a business that you want to pursue, or maybe you want to pay, you want to go to Udemy and take some courses and spend $20 on some courses. That's what you want to do. You want to invest it in yourself and in your business when that time comes along, because you don't want too many people. I don't have any money. I can't do anything. Well, that's another bullshit excuse too. But that's another story. But don't spend it. Have it as an option, an opportunity.
Gotcha. All right, love it. Now, moving on to mentorship. A lot of people in the success space and entrepreneurial world are aware that a mentor can accelerate our progress towards becoming a millionaire and all that stuff. So how should one go about getting a mentor?
Well, you have to show the mentor value. I get requests for mentorship practically every single day. Mm-hmm. And they're always pretty much the same. They're me oriented. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want a Lamborghini. I like passive income. Da, 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 da. Will you mentor me? They offer no value to me, the mentor. And that is, in essence, real life. That is business. Because the business world, the marketplace, ultimately says, what good are you to me? And if you're good to me, I will give you money. So this selfish disposition is why most people fail, because they approach business like this selfishly. I want to, be my own boss. I want to do this. I want to do that. When the market doesn't give a shit about any of that stuff. The same thing goes for mentorship. You don't approach a mentor and tell them about yourself and just say, I want to be, will you mentor me? That's the wrong approach. You have to demonstrate value to the mentor. A good example is I've even wrote this on my forum. If someone sent me, hey, I reviewed your books, the copy on your website for your book. And I thought it was okay, but I thought I could improve it. Here is my revised version. Tell me what you think of this. So the person has demonstrated value, and that kind of effort would strike my interest. Anything else does not. And this is the essence of life itself with business. So you cannot approach a mentor with a selfish disposition because you're going to get no traction.
Yeah, sure thing. That's some truth right there. Awesome, dude. Love it. So here's another one for you. In terms of how people think, what's the difference between a guy making $100,000 a month and making, let's say, $1 million a month?
$900,000.
So what you're saying is basically the same thinking, but just keep working?
Well, it depends on the person. I tend to focus on, I don't want employees. Right now I have no employees, and it makes me happier than fuck. I don't, if I ever build another, internet company or something along those lines, I don't want employees. I just don't want to deal with them. You can do $100,000 a month and have no employees. Whereas the guy that's making $1 million a month probably has a couple employees, maybe more than that. It all depends on the individual. The guy that's making $1 million a month may want to become a billionaire. I don't know. It's different for everyone. So, the difference between, the guy that's making the 100,000 and the million is probably in their scale, in their ability to scale. I had an opportunity to scale my business, and it required more management and employees. Well, I decided I didn't want to do that. I could have scaled maybe to $1 million a month, but I said, no, I was happy with, 100, 200,000 a month. And see, that's where the difference comes in. One person may want to become, something much bigger. Some person just may want to retire early. So it all matters on the person itself.
Sure. Great answer. And so another question about, this is about time. I'm wondering how you personally view time, what time means to you, and how you think in terms of spending it.
Well, time is the most precious asset we have. It's non-refillable. Once it's gone, it's gone. That's why the 5-for-2 trade, trading your time for money, is the most stupidest human thing we could ever create, ever think of, because it's not an interest payment. It's immediately loss of principal. You don't give someone $5 and say, hey, I expect to get 2 back. Well, you don't get the 5 back. You just get 2 back. So again, in the financial world, that kind of exchange would never work. And yet with time, something that's an exhaustible commodity that cannot be replenished, we do that freely. So my idea for being an entrepreneur is, sure, as entrepreneurs, when we're starting a business and we're managing a business, it requires a lot of time. However, our goal is to get paid both time and money. So when you're paying, you're making $20,000 to $50,000 a year, you're just trading that time and you get nothing back. So as an entrepreneur, when we leverage something, what I call the commandment of time, is we eventually want to get paid time, meaning our time starts to free up. The system becomes automated, and, being on the clock 24/7 is what creates wealth. I make money 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, for 365 days a year. That cash register never turns off. So this is the essence of putting time in your corner, as opposed to being time your enemy. You want time as your ally, where as it passes, you're making money no matter if it's Saturday or Monday. So that's the essence of the entrepreneurship that I'm focused on with my books, is teaching people how to create these systems that pay both time and money.
Sure. And so I guess what that looks like is, when I sit down tomorrow and I'm doing my business tasks, I'm wondering, how exactly do you evaluate on an hour-to-hour basis what tasks are worth your time in that very moment? Do you think like, okay, if I'm going to focus on marketing today because I know that marketing, creating these graphics is going to create sales and therefore make me lots of money and time? Is that how you think about it, or is it something different?
No, it's whatever moves the needle. I also like to look at how much legacy does what I'm doing have. A good example is this podcast I'm on right now. I don't know if you put it on YouTube or Apple or wherever, but once you put it up there, it's going to be there. I don't know if it's going to be there forever, but it will be there for a long, long time. So I could be sleeping one day and someone's going to listen to the podcast and say, hey, I like what this guy's saying. I'm going to buy his book. See, that's legacy. And that's working for me while I'm not working. I have a business forum, entrepreneur forum. That's up 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. And people there are always talking about my books and whatnot. That's legacy that exists in time, separate from my time. Likewise, my products, my forum, my internet company that is sold, my books, all these items exist in time, separate from my time. So I look at that all the time. Is this something that's going to last beyond my effort of time? We'll spend an hour here today, but we'll get more. This will last forever. So that's what we have to look at. Is I've declined interviews on the radio because once the interview is done, it disappears like a fart in the wind. So there's no legacy there. So I've declined those because I don't want to waste 20 minutes and that's it. I want it to exist in perpetuity, so I get value out of that time I spent.
Isn't that bizarre? Like, I mean, it's 2017, MJ. Wouldn't you think these radio companies would have gotten to the internet bandwagon by now and just upload the radio shows as podcasts?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Well, the one I looked at, they didn't do that. So I was like, forget it.
Sounds pretty old school. Okay. Maybe it's some I don't want to make judgments here, but maybe some 50 or 60-year-olds that haven't quite caught on to the whole technology thing. I don't know, man. But I just had to throw that out there. Okay. So next up, I've got a very niche question here for you, and I ask this to all my entrepreneur guests, and that is, what's your view on the rising trend of entrepreneurs, particularly in Silicon Valley, using psychedelic drugs as a tool for getting an extra edge over their competition?
What is my opinion of it? Well, I don't know enough about it probably to give you an opinion. I don't use... I mean, what kind of psychedelic drugs are you talking about? LSD or...
Yes, so LSD and psilocybin.
Well, here's one thing I know is anything beyond wealth, beyond money, your health is the most important thing. I've had, in my last couple of years, I've really had some health struggles, and it's really put into perspective that, no matter how much money or freedom you have, if you do not have your health, everything else is worthless. So, when I was going through my trial, I was like, I didn't give a shit about a book. I didn't give a shit about nothing because I just felt like shit. So anything that's going to jeopardize your health for an edge, I wouldn't recommend. I've never taken LSD or any of these things, so I really can't give you an opinion. But to each his own. If that's what someone wants to do, it's good luck. I wish you no harm.
Good, man. All right, appreciate it. And just in regards to your comment on health, how about do you think to become a millionaire, with that whole grind, you got to work fucking hard? Do you think it's worth missing out on sleep to do those 14-hour, 16-hour hustle sessions? Do you think it's worth it in the end in terms of your health and generating this wealth?
Well, absolutely. But here's the thing. When I worked, I did a lot of work, 14, 16-hour days, like you said.
Yep.
But I still ate fine. I mean, except in the early days, I was on ramen then. But for the most part, I ate well. I worked out. It was business in the gym. So that was the two things that was my focus: business and health. So you don't have to sacrifice. That's a myth. You don't have to sacrifice your health to be successful. And a lot of times when I put in these long 14-hour days, it doesn't feel like work because, I'm experiencing learning. I'm experiencing some success. So it never feels like work because I am there by my choice. No one is looking over my shoulder and saying, you need to do that. So again, we come back to that autonomy equation. So when you own your time and you do it by choice, you have a different level of, fulfillment and feeling.
Okay, cool, man. Love it. Absolutely love it. All right, so a couple more questions here. Let's see. Okay, yeah, here's one for you. What specific actions would you take if you lost every single piece of your net worth and every business connection you have by midnight tonight? What actions would you take?
I probably would have to go get a job to pay some bills, but
Sure.
No, I would start another business. I would reverse engineer a value array, which is how you get into business. You deconstruct. You just deconstruct an industry based on its value attributes. You skew a bunch of attributes, and then you're in business. So that's what I would be doing. Obviously I couldn't sell myself because the hypothetical is I lost all my contacts and, I have nothing left. So I definitely would start a business. I would probably have to get a job because if I'm absolutely broke and my contacts are gone, I need a way to fund my business and fund, my tent that I'll be living in. But that would be the focus again. It would be a pure, unrelented focus on my health and my business to once again escape what I'm in.
All right, awesome, man. That just about rounds it up for the questions there. Now, we've just got a last set of questions which are a little more specific to you. I often call them the fun questions because they're a bit more casual. So here we go. We'll go through some. Where? So if you were to put a message on a billboard next to a busy highway, what would you put on that billboard?
Monday through Friday is a human construct. It does not exist. Think about it. That's a human construct. Aliens don't know that Monday is a Saturday. It's all the same. It's a construct to institute obedience and order of the workday.
Damn straight. I like it. All right, we'll bang on to the next one. What advice would you give your 20-year-old self if you could go on a time portal and have a conversation?
Both my books is that conversation. They're what I would have said to myself when I was 20. When it comes across as I'm yelling or I'm being blunt, that's me actually yelling at my younger self. So everything in there is me talking to my younger self.
Deep. So yeah, just for the listeners listening, and again, that's the Millionaire Fastlane and Unscripted. Awesome. So let's see here. Yeah, we're coming really close to an end now. So do you have any quotes you live your life by or think about often?
So my own quotes, I said earlier, passion. Winning inspires passion. Passion does not necessarily inspire winning. If you accept conventional wisdom from conventional people living conventional lives, can you expect to be anything but conventional?
Interesting. Okay. All right, to top it off, MJ, this has been fucking awesome, by the way. Absolutely lovely conversation. I love that you're so open, MJ. So I don't know what it is about you, MJ, but you're so open, and it's I don't even know how to explain it, MJ. It's just wonderful, okay?
Well, I'm unscripted. I'm doing this because I don't need the money. It's fun to spread the message and wake people up.
Yeah, okay, cool. Now, do you have any seminars in person that you do or any opportunities to meet you in person worldwide?
I do not do seminars. That would be very guru-esque of me. once in a while, we do have a meeting, a Fastlane meeting every year in Scottsdale, Arizona. However, if someone wants to pursue this Fastlane strategy or Unscripted, I am at the FastlaneForum.com every single day. I'm there contributing. I'm there helping people. I'm answering questions. And again, that's a free of charge forum. It's called the FastlaneForum.com. And again, I'm there every single day. So come on by. It's free to join.
Yeah. All right. Awesome. So I'll leave a link to your forum in the description below, and the books as well. So listeners listening in, just head right there wherever this podcast is distributed, iTunes, YouTube, etc., etc. And yeah, you can head to the links. So rounding it off here, MJ. Again, fucking awesome conversation. No filters here. No agenda. Just pure raw value, straight out from MJ. So MJ, thank you again for coming on the show.
All right, man. Have a good one.
All right, you too, MJ. Peace out. Head to brandonnankivell.com/subscribe. This is also the best way to interact with me and keep up with what I'm doing. Again, head to brandonnankivell.com/subscribe. As usual, thank you for listening, my friends. I release new episodes every week. Make sure you don't miss one by subscribing. It's super easy and means a lot to me. Go to iTunes, search for The 1% Show, and click subscribe. Once again, I'm your host, Brandon Nankivell, and I'll see you in the next episode.